Okay, let's talk Punk, Seth, Drew, and Bronson. I know he explained it. I didn't buy the explanation. Punk comes out after losing to someone he might have more heat with than anybody else in his entire WWE run. And he's singing his song, and he's laughing, and he's soaking in the crowd. And I said out loud, I go, did he lose on Saturday? Because he sure isn't selling it that way. And it does feel like, and I might be reading into this too much, he's doing a lot of pandering. I like CM Punk, who is the same no matter what. And one of those guys you turn the dial one way or the other. There's a lot of shaking hands and high-fiving. Let me get at the end of the kickoff show and say something funny. And there's a lot of that going on with CM Punk. There's a lot of playing to the fans that he didn't typically do. It's noticeable. It almost feels like, and I thought this last night when he was talking, he's just happy to be there. And a few times, the crowd did not react to what he said. And I'm bringing that up because it happened with Damian Priest, and they did react in a positive way. He said, my summer of hate, was supposed to begin, and then it didn't. This packed house of beautiful people. Very pandering. And they didn't pop. It was just like, yeah. Priest talks about his family and all these people, and they go nuts. Punk says it, and they're like, it didn't seem genuine. It didn't seem like the CM Punk that didn't care about what people thought. If you're with me, great. If you're not, okay. He very much wants the people to be with him. He's almost begging for it at times. You know when they popped? When he said, people don't want to hear CM Punk talk. They want to see him fight. And then they popped. Wasn't his thing talking? It doesn't feel like that is the same anymore. He's almost trying to be too likable. And then Seth comes out. And Seth came out angrier than Punk because Punk talked about, I didn't think I was going to come back in time. And I think, the fact that I beat the comeback and I made it back in 5 months, that's great. Kind of shits on the finish, though. Kind of doesn't sell the fact that you lost to Drew McIntyre. Saturday was a win because you got back in time. What about all the hate that you had for Drew McIntyre? What made you see red? Weren't you mad about a bracelet the other day? And now you're happy? Now you put that behind you because you got back in time? I thought it took away from the heat between him and Drew. I thought it didn't sell the finish enough. To me, it was like Punk was like, it's okay. I made it back in time. That was awesome. At this point in my career, the fact that I did that, that came across as a guy who's broken down and is listening to the people who's telling him that he's broken down. And then it was like an upset for him to hang in there. He's talking about WrestleMania. What's he talking about WrestleMania for? He lost on Saturday. I thought that overlooked the loss to Drew too much. Even if he tried to explain it, I don't think it was a good explanation. And then Seth comes out, and he ate a GTS. He was angrier than Punk. He was more pissed off than Punk was. He had a reason to be pissed off. He was a little more subdued with the close, which I appreciated. Still a bit much, but still. And I liked what Seth said. It's taken, after 10 long years, it's finally time to put you in the dirt. And the crowd popped for it. Because people want to see that. People want to see that match happen. They know these two guys really deep down probably don't like each other. Even if they're doing business, it comes across well. And they were going to fight. And then Drew talks. And Punk is in character select mode. He's doing this. And I'm going, just go fight him. Who cares what Drew's saying? Just go fight the guy. Why are you both standing there looking at each other but not looking at Drew? So you'll look at each other and not fight, even though you were about to. Where Seth's like, you going to let me get in the ring or am I going to kick your ass out here? And they say that, and I love it. Cool. They're all fired up. And Punk's he's in this mode and is fit, and they're just listening to Drew while they're looking at each other. Why were they waiting to fight? And then all of a sudden, Drew brings up the bracelet, and that sets Punk off, and then he goes out into the... Now I'm going to go chase this guy. You had the guy right in front of you that you wanted to fight, and he wanted to fight you. You literally had just said, people don't want to hear CM Punk talk. They want to hear me fight. And here comes a guy who wants to fight you, and you want to fight him, and you stop because somebody up in the stands is talking. Who gives a shit? I don't believe you then if you say you want to fight. It sounds like you're backing off. It sounds like you're just talking and not backing up your words. It sounds like you're full of shit. However, Bronson Reed, who had talked to Adam Pearce earlier, says, I am going to have to go do this on my own. Much like Braun Breaker was not happy he wasn't in King of the Ring, and look what he did, and look what he earned, and look that he's now Intercontinental Champion. And Bronson Reed goes, all right, fine, Pearce, you're going to ignore me. I won that match, and Sheamus got the match. What's the deal? And he goes out there, and he called the shot. And he has the biggest night of his career. 2 tsunamis. I actually thought that the third one, this is a very weird nitpick, I thought Cole called it like Wade does, almost too excited, almost too happy, not like tsunami. It was tsunami! Like, oh man, that's his big move. And then he adjusted. And then Cole, and a little bit of Pat, sold the hell out of it. What are they doing? Get paramedics out here. This guy, get a national. They're going, this guy, they sold Bronson Reed as unstoppable. And he comes back and hits more. I loved, that was a great example of taking your time. He could have hit 6 in a row, but he hit a couple. He came back and he hit more. Then he comes back up to the top rope, and then they get Seth out of the way. And all I said was, hey, why did it take 6 tsunamis to move Seth? Why did they move him before that? Whatever. Segment was great. Biggest night of Bronson Reed's career. And you can tell that Bronson is someone they like. Now, I'll tell you this story. TakeOver 30. I just looked it up. Bronson was supposed to win the North American Championship in a ladder match. They changed the finish, and Priest won instead. But Bronson Reed has been well-liked by Triple H for quite some time. They eventually put the North American title on him. You know, he didn't really go anywhere under Vince, and then then he came back, and then it was Big Bronson Reed and all that crap. Bronson can work. Bronson had some real good matches and has had good matches and has been able to throw his weight around. And I don't think he's the best promo in the world. He might be someone who would benefit a little bit more from having a manager who can talk him up. But he backs it up. And his stuff looks good. Everything he did last night made me believe, whether he had a blood capsule or not, that Seth was in a lot of pain. And I hope Seth sells that for multiple weeks. And maybe that's the plan of, hey, he's not totally back from the knee injury yet. We got to take him. Great segment. Really important to follow it up.